Hey, what's going on? Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, and today I've got a very special guest. I'm joined by George from Into the Knicks Verse. George, how's everything with you, bro?
Excellent, man. Excellent. That's excellent. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, especially after attending that game on Wednesday and seeing the Knicks go and
Oh, you lucky.
win that game in double OT. It was electric, man. The MSG, the Garden was on fire. They gave us free shirts. We had like little electronic devices on our wrists to light up. It really added to the experience of being in the Garden at full capacity.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, the Garden is always puts on a great show. Always
Hmm.
historically. And everybody was there. I mean, it was all about what was happening on 34th Street in New York City that night.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
it.
We had
Everything.
this. We had the town on fire. We had social media ablaze. So it's good to have the Knicks back and being the talk of the town. But George, I just want to know, give me your thoughts on some of the things you saw from that game yesterday before we get into the pregame.
Well, the main thing that I saw is, the thing that we fell in love about this team is that they never quit. They just
Mm.
never quit. And even though they were looking shaky, they just, I mean, and we were texting each other and they with Foxy and everything. And I was like, no, at any moment, Knicks are going to put their foot on the gas and take this game over. But, then it got into the third quarter and it's that still really hadn't happened. Then finally, when Obi got in the game, it kind of started changing and the pace sped up. Actually, I just want to pull those numbers about pace. The game just changed completely and they locked in, took the lead, but then the brain farts at the end.
Yeah, brutal.
It, it was almost like Kemba forgot what color uni he was wearing.
Right? He had flashbacks to last season.
Yeah. Well, pregame he's out hugging everybody. It's just a total love fest, and then Fournier is there too. He's also
Hmm.
an ex-Celtic, and it was kind of bizarre and ironic that those were the two that actually caused the key blunder at the
Breakdown.
end
Yeah.
to let Marcus Smart hit that wide open three. That was a major brain fart. Now, you know, um, actually, I haven't heard what Kemba's excuse was for. I know he took blame, and so did Fournier, but they never. I didn't really hear what happened.
Yeah,
Were you?
I didn't hear Kimber's post game either. I was too busy getting turned up after the game.
Yeah, man. Well, you. Yeah.
But you mentioned it earlier that you knew that the team was going to pull it out, and that's because this team is a good team, and that's a characteristic of a solid team. A team that we had a mistake at the end of the regulation, but we didn't allow it to impact us negatively in the extra time. So I think that's a great sign to see as a Knicks fan. We've been fans for years, and we can recall a bunch of games where the Knicks would have let go of that rope, and the
Oh,
fact that they were able to rebound, not only take it to a single overtime, but then to still have the energy to pull it out in double OT. I think that is just a great way for us to start this season. We're starting off on a high note, and we've got a couple games here against the Magic where we should be able to build a cushion and get off to a nice rolling start. But just George, any key moment or impact player from the game before we get into tonight's game? Are you going to stick with Obi, or you think anybody else really, you know, thought
well,
should be
I
the
mean,
key
I mean
impact
it.
player?
I mean, you know, definitely Fournier was tremendous. He saved his night for his career high for his debut. In the biggest spectacle in the NBA universe at the moment. Just at New York City to drop 32 points against his former team. That was pretty amazing. But we can't ignore what Julius Randle did. And when he just came out and started, and I mean, he was phenomenal when he came out and just took over the game for a stretch. I think it actually calmed the rest of the players down. And guys like RJ, who historically, I mean, we've seen it. He comes out in the first half. Sometimes he doesn't have it, can't get anything going. Now, last season, there were specific reasons. His starting point guard didn't do a job of involving him.
Yeah,
This season it's almost the other way. It's like there's so many people on the court that can do what he can do, in a lot of ways that, finding the right balance of shot distribution was a problem in the first half. But definitely when he came out in the second half, I mean, he was a tremendous difference maker. I mean, it was really an all around, if we really think about it, all around team effort in the second half and
Yep.
OT to get this victory. But Kemba's defense was definitely an issue, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But that was, I mean, Julius, you can't ignore the fact that Julius is not only picking up from his All NBA season that he had last season, but it's amped up some. He's actually finishing at the rim.
Yes.
That's I mean, no one's talked about that at all. That is the best sign. That is a key indicator. And the same with RJ, even though RJ did miss a few, but then later on, he bullied his way. That is going to be the key for this team to go deep, much deeper than last year.
Yeah, Randall looked good in the post, whether it was against Grant Williams or even in a mismatch. He was able to, abuse that matchup. Now, George, we're looking at the Magic tonight.
You can call me Foxy. Okay.
My apologies. If we're looking at the Magic tonight, and the Magic have a weird team, honestly, very young team, right? And they're looking at, Jalen Suggs. We're looking at Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, young guards. We're also looking at Wendell Carter, a player that I'm looking at when it comes to a similar contract for Mitch when he becomes a free agent. You've also got Mo Bamba. They're starting a weird lineup. Like against the Spurs, and in a game in which they lost, they had the two guard lineup with Suggs and Cole Anthony, and then they had Bamba and Wendell Carter. So what are you looking for towards the Knicks to try to do out there to get this game started off on the right foot? Especially what you're looking at the Magic being able to both go out there big and with their two bigs and still have speedy guards to kind of penetrate and find those guys.
Yeah, they, like, on paper, I mean, they are an odd team, like you said. On paper, you think, wow, they've got a lot of size. They should be able to punish people, but their size isn't really. They're not like the beasts down on the post, so they're really kind of stretched. They're really stretch fives, and they have two of them. I wish we had one of those guys as a stretch five. When we need it. I think the Knicks, all they have to do is keep Cole Anthony from going off, because he can catch fire, and then that could invigorate, basically the inverse, like what Julius does for the Knicks. That could happen for the Magic. They all start calming down, and then Suggs might start hitting some shots, and Mo Bamba. I mean, he had a nice game last game. Good. So I'm a little worried about that, because we have that weakness at the point defensively.
Yes. Especially with you saying you're being concerned about Cole Anthony. If he's able to get things going, he can be a difference maker. But I don't really see him being able to capitalize. I don't think Tibbs will allow like something like that to happen. And we also have RJ, our emerging two-way star, to throw at him if he is gonna look like he's about to go off. But I think we should also be focused.
Then we have to deal with Suggs.
True. They do have that 2-point guard look that they can throw at us and make things difficult for us. But I'm confident in what we can do defensively. It's just Kemba has to step up and make sure, if he's standing in front of Suggs, if that's his defensive matchup, that he doesn't allow him to, unlock that Orlando Magic offense. Now, I'm going to be concerned a little bit about Terence Ross. Now, Terence Ross has gone out there and had some pretty good games against the Knicks. I think the last time he played us, he had 30 points. In his career, he's had 5 games where he scored over 20 points against us. So I'm hoping that the Knicks can kind of corral him and not allow him to kind of be that spark off the bench that we hope, Emmanuel quickly could probably be in a game like this. Your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Suggs. Well, Terence Ross always seems to really hurt us. He enjoys, for some reason, punishing New York, anyone with a New York on their chest.
So we
And
won't trade for him.
I know. Actually, that's a very baseball mentality. Get the guy that punishes you, get him on your team, and just whatever.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
two Mets fans.
Yes. Oh,
Unfortunately,
we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that.
yeah,
But
right.
yeah, I am. I'm definitely concerned about Terence Ross going off. That's part of the thing. I mean, it seems like the Thibs defensive schemes haven't really clicked in for the two new starters on the Knicks yet. Though Fournier definitely recovered better in the second half, and he just decided, I'm gonna. He actually played some good man-on-man defense in the fourth quarter and in OT as well. I think that's probably what he's gonna have to stick to. But in terms of the switches and when to switch, those are the things that still need to be kind of worked out. And Kemba seemed a little lost in terms of that.
Yeah. But we mentioned that before the season start that Kemba, would be an issue defensively, but hopefully he can provide a little bit more firepower on offense.
Yeah, I'm actually expecting Kemba to explode today.
You think so? You think he's going to be the impact performer of the game?
Yeah. Because look what he's got. Look who he's got on him. He's got Cole Anthony on him. Because they're not going to put Suggs
on RJ.
Yeah, Suggs on RJ or Suggs on Fournier. I mean, that's the problem for that's the inverse problem for the Magic. Who did they put on our two, wing combo, RJ and Fournier? Who do they put on them? So they're gonna have
George,
to put
that's a completely different scenario from last season. Doesn't it feel great to say that?
God, I love that, man. I mean, despite how much I love and appreciate the contribution that Reggie Bullock gave us, but he was limited. He's a limited player.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that with Fournier, and everyone talks about, well, Fournier's not the defender. That's not necessarily what we needed. We need the diversity, the versatility that Fournier brings so that our other guys can have space on the floor to work. That was fantastic. It was awesome to see Fournier take the ball, take it back out behind the line. Like if he couldn't find his shot, took it out behind the line. And he didn't need, the ball to go around the horn and come back to him to get an open shot.
In order to get a look, yeah.
Exactly. That changes the game completely because you work faster that way. And that's part of speeding up the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe there was a stat saying with the pace that we played with in the game on Wednesday, we would have been second overall in the league last season if we were to maintain that pace.
That's great. That's what I wanted to look that up.
Yeah. I believe I saw that on the socials. I want to give the person credit, but I can't recall at the moment. So me being there, I went to games last season and I went to the game on Wednesday, and there was a visible difference in how these guys were pushing the ball up and down the court. And I think it works great for Obi, like you mentioned, works great for Mitch. We were able to see Obi find Mitch, in transition for what should have been a dunk, but Mitch was fouled. He'll get better at finishing as his conditioning comes along. That's something he said in his own interviews, and it also works well for RJ. A lot of RJ's spectacular dunks are in transition. So if we can continue to keep this pace up, I think it'll bode well for the team as a whole. We'll start getting high efficient looks at the rim. Hopefully these guys can get into a rhythm, and that way when we're in our half court sets, they'll be able to knock down some shots around the rim. That's something we should see the team be markedly better when it comes to the amount of talent that we added. So George, Derek is saying who needs to have a good game? Derek, we discussed the Celtics game a little bit earlier, so if you want at the end of the stream, you can run it back and check. Or George, if you want, you can just give a quick recap. It's up to you.
Well, one thing that we didn't say about the Boston game was, I mean, when you think about where Boston is in the East, they're right. They're technically there with us. In fact, a lot of other prognosticators and people who cover the NBA, they have Celtics above us, along with the Bulls.
The Bulls. Some have the Heat as well.
And the Heat. I mean, the Heat, I can actually understand the rationale, though by the end, by May, that ain't going to be the story. But I get the rationale, but I don't understand how people can put the Bulls and the Celtics above the Knicks. But they're there. So the Celtics are there competing with us, and they came out and they're co-all-star player had a career night, and they lost a pretty big game. And we had 2 new starters, and our center was playing only his second game of competitive basketball in 7 months.
7 months, yep.
I mean, considering all of that, and we know that our guys have a bit, they get, I mean, we saw it in the playoffs with Atlanta. They get a little overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. And there was definitely some of that the other night, and they overcame all that. So all of those factors. Now I know Tatum, but we know what happened
Got
with
locked
him.
up. RJ put him in jail.
I definitely want to talk about that when we have later, when we have a chance. But so us beating the Celtics was huge, huge. We could have dropped that game, and like you said, in the Knicks of last season might even have dropped that game in the beginning of the season, and definitely seasons before. The fact that we overcame that was just fantastic, fantastic. And as far as who needs to have a big game tonight, in terms of need, well, Julius needs to have a big game every night because he's our number one. He's our star. He has to have a big game. By big game, I mean 26 a night. I've come out and I've said I want him to average between 26 and 29, and I actually think it's totally possible for him. So he needs to do that, give his thing. But in terms of who's the secondary guy, I think it's got to be Kemba, like we said. Just from not that the team needs Kemba to do it to win this game. I think it's from a long-term, to calm everybody down and to kind of dissuade all the, hey, let's start Rose over Kemba.
That's not going anywhere, George. It doesn't matter what Kemba does.
That's true, but it only fuels them more when he struggles. Now he's shot well.
That's true.
He's 3 of 4 from behind the arc.
I think 3 of 8 total.
3 of 8 total.
But that means he was 0 of 5 from the field, though.
Yeah, so that's part of it. I mean, if he can, I would love for him to have a nice 25-point game tonight.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I mean, I talked about it in the offseason, how most of his shots now are coming from behind the arc. And that's exactly what we've been seeing so far. I think a lot of Kemba's big moments have been, threes. We really haven't seen him mix it up too much in the paint. And then against the Celtics, he had a couple layups that he missed. So hopefully he can kind of get into a rhythm. I think I mentioned it a little while ago. Hopefully Quick can get into a rhythm. I know, George, you're a big believer in Emmanuel Quickly. What do you want to see from him off the bench in this game?
I want to see him be more decisive. He and they were and that was kind of a team-wide thing for a stretch when he was on the court. Like a lot of like Burks, we saw it with Burks as well. I got the ball. Oh, should I shoot? Should I pass? What should I try to get around my guy? Just have a plan. But when you move to that position on the court, have a plan about what you want to do. If the ball comes to me and so switches over, this is what I'm doing. Think it all through before, instead of like, oh, now I have the ball. Now what do I do? It's the the green light thing when the guy behind you honks the horn.
Yeah,
like, get going, man.
Yeah, he does have to make quicker reads, but that's going to come with him developing as a point guard. I want to see him find his shot. I think once he finds his shot, you'll see him be a lot more confident with the rock in his hand. So once he's able to see that ball actually drop, the shots drop, even though he didn't really shoot, he didn't have a terrible game. It's just he's been so efficient since preseason, even going into summer league. We want to see IQ, the shooter, IQ that's 40% from the 3-point line, and a player that even if he's going to be putting up those mid-range shots, he's still someone that can penetrate and put up that floater or find Mitch or Obi for assists. If he can just do those things and try to get himself back into a groove, I think IQ will start to find himself as the season goes along. But I'm not too concerned about him so far. It's the season is still young, and I expect him to rebound throughout the year. Now,
I'm not concerned about I'm not concerned about him long term at all. this guy is a special talent. His shot is real. He's trying to learn how to run an NBA offense. And that is probably the most difficult thing to do in the NBA. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to take some time, and I think is just thinking too much. And some of the issues that you kind of touched on it was that he actually had a lot of like shot clock buzzer beaters that he had to heave
Yeah.
because the ball ends up back in his hands, and he's got 2.5 seconds left. And he's not 6'9", he's not Paul George who can just get it
Shoot
up.
over
So
people.
he needs a little bit of time to create some space and doesn't have it. So he kind of heaves it, and he had a couple of those, and then those look bad, and then that kind of freaks the fan base out. So I think that's part of what he's got to work through, and his teammates got to help him with it. They got to help him. They got to get him the ball with enough time to be able to do something with it, to create.
Yeah, that's gonna be Derrick Rose, because I think since Derrick Rose has been here, he's been having pretty good chemistry with Quick, and also pretty good chemistry with Obi. What are you expecting from D Rose in this game coming off the bench? He didn't have the greatest performance against the Celtics, but D Rose is D Rose. You're not gonna be I'm not too worried about him rebounding from that game.
Actually, now that I said it, and then you brought it up, I actually think that's probably what D Rose is thinking himself. I have to make sure I get my guys IQ and Burks to get off well, to make their shots, get them easy buckets. I think that's probably what he's going to focus on more than getting his shot. And he can always get his shot. Man,
Mm-hmm.
God, that I rewatched that 2-pointer he got to basically seal the victory, the layup.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw him, he was like a sniper. He was like moving around. He was like looking for the stabbing at the defense. He stabbed at least, I think, 4 times until he finally found the opening. He was waiting for the additional defender to kind of recede back, and that's boom when he moved her. Oh, gorgeous. And that's the kind of stuff that I hope IQ watches. He's like, okay, that's how you do it.
Yeah, I think that's probably just those film sessions, because we already know the guys are gym rats. So Emmanuel quickly being able to watch how D Rose is able to move out there on the court in high pressure, high leverage situations, and being able to reach out to him, in the locker rooms and try to pick his brain. I think that's going to be great for IQ, both as a scorer and also developing as a facilitator, because I'm still there with you as thinking that IQ can, be a lead guard, even if it's going to be quote unquote, the modern point guard and not the traditional point guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted to say something, George?
Yeah. Because when we're talking about learning from D Rose, what I hope he learns from D Rose is that it's not always your first stab that gets you to the hoop, or even your additional one. Every time Rose, made a little move towards, he got a little closer each time. He started out 3-point line, then he moved the top of the key, then he moved. He was at the free throw line, and then he was about 7 feet out, and for the fourth move, and then he got to the basket. Where IQ, he'll like stab, get in, and then fling it. Like the play is not over until you decide.
Yep. You definitely got to work on keeping his dribble until the last second when he penetrates. I think once he's able to do that, he's going to be real deadly. But we touched on it a little bit. You mentioned Derrick Rose trying to get Quickly and Alec Burks involved. What are you looking for Burks to do? I think that whole second unit outside of Obi really didn't have the greatest of games. So what are you looking from Alec Burks, who, since he went down with the Rona last season, we really haven't seen the clutch Alec Burks that was able to win us a few games last season. So what do you think Alec Burks has to do out there against the Magic in order to find his way to start the season?
He's got a tough role. He has a tough role because he's the third option on that team, and he needs the ball in his hands to be able to create. He likes, to create off the dribble.
Likes to dance.
He likes to dance. And the way that the team is structured right now, it doesn't really work because you want to keep the ball moving, keep it moving, and then trust that the ball will come back to you, and then you'll get your shot. I think he's got to trust the flow of the offense. Now, not having not having a Taj or a Nerlens, I
There's
think
no
is
well.
Nerlens. I think that's impacted Burks a lot. To working with Sims, like is Sims setting the right picks for him, the right screens? That's the kind of stuff that I want to see Sims and Burks get their two-man combination thing going. Then maybe, well, I mean, Sims is not going to do a pick and pop, so he's going to do a pick and roll, and so try and find him, try and give him a nice lob, and then that could kind of calm you down. And Burks is also the kind of guy, like, if he hits one shot, he'll just catch fire, which I actually thought that was going to happen last game. He hit a 3, and then he couldn't quite turn it into much.
Fizzled from there. Yeah, so shout out to Lex the Destroyer. That's why he's a mod. He's saying Carter Williams is out. I didn't know that. Fultz, I knew Fultz wasn't playing. He didn't play in the opener. Harris, Isaac, Moore, and O'Keefe all out tonight. So the Magic are going to be depleted at the big man position. You expecting Mitch to eat? Mitch and Randall?
I do. I think he's going to get...
Should be a lot of small ball, too. Because Nerlens Noel, Taj is out. Yeah, so if they're not going to have Carter Williams out there to kind of, be dominant in the paint, because Carter Williams is a pretty decent rebounder, finisher. I think
he's a good guy.
Not I think. I got him on my fantasy team.
I met him in summer league when he was there.
Oh, yeah, he's a nice guy?
Yeah, very nice.
He's too injury prone for me. I'm about to move on from him.
Yeah.
But, hopefully he's able to...
Got a cool family. They were all there.
Oh, he's not playing. I got to take him out my lineup. Oh, this guy. This guy. So yeah. Dang. And I'm on the stream. Hopefully by the time we close off, I'll be able to have enough time to get him out my lineup. But you expecting Mitch to feast now? Hearing the news?
Yeah. Wait, no. No, Carter Williams is out.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yes, I do actually. Every game, Mitch is just going to get more and more in shape. I mean, he got 17 rebounds.
17 rebounds, crazy, with 2 blocks, I believe.
Yeah, I think the blocks are going to keep rising.
Yep, 2 blocks.
He should.
Randall had 3 blocks.
Yeah, and I think
that's crazy.
RJ, I don't know if he got credited for the 2 blocks, but he definitely had 2 blocks. Definitely.
Yeah, they credited him with 2.
Yeah.
Everybody had a block in our starting lineup except for Kemba.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected.
Yeah, that's if Kemba's blocking you, you're doing something wrong.
If Kemba's blocking you, I'm blocking you because I got Kemba
me
by like half an inch. George, I want to get to a very special super chat from my guy Sincere, the genius. He's saying, give me a show with Quis, Foxy, and George, and I'm a happy man. Sincere, we're gonna work on it. Try to get all 3 of us on, and maybe even try to get a little syndicate special going with JD as well.
Yeah, we'll get the 4
Thank
of us.
you for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Shout out to the chat. We haven't even.
Yeah. I was just about to get into it. We got so caught up in the Knicks talk. Crazy game with the Celtics. I was paying attention, but I didn't want to cut off the dialogue. Hardwell is saying Mitch is the key to our success, the anchor in the paint, and he finishes great. Yeah, if you have the highest field goal percentage in NBA history, you better be a great finisher. You got to be a great finisher.
Yeah. Hey, dude, I mean, you can see how much we missed him. Oh, if I know it's been beaten like a dead horse, but in that Atlanta series, it would have gone very differently.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we said it in our stream here on Sports Vibes TV. We were talking about it. JD had mentioned it, and we saw that if Mitch was in that game, I think it would have been a completely different series. Could I have forecasted a win and say we would have, got to the second round? I can't say that, but I know it wouldn't have been a gentleman's sweep. I think we would have gone at least 7 games, and then the flip of a coin at that point.
Yeah,
whoever wants it more.
I 100% believe that. 100%, and you can see it. You can see the way he impacts the game now. He's such a lob threat. He's a rim runner. He's defensively. He's. I mean, I can't even. I mean, Gobert is the only other center that I can think of that has the ability
You know
to
what's crazy?
impact the entire floor from the defensive end from the 5-hole. The way he
Sure.
does.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you look at even Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, they had to take him off the court
Yeah.
when teams went small. I don't think we have to do that with Mitch. You know, you don't want him out there with the small ball lineup for extended minutes, but I think Mitch can hold his own, and I think that's what makes him so special and what makes him so versatile is the fact that if he gets caught up in a switch, he can hold his own against a point guard if needed, and he can also now with the additional size, I think he can bang down low with some of the more physical centers in this league. So that's why I'm high on Mitchell Robinson. I hope he can find a reasonable deal
Mitch is your
to
guy.
keep him here. Yeah, to find a reasonable deal to keep him here because it's going to be hard to replace what he's able to do out there on the court. You know, Sims, he has physical talent that's off the charts, but you can see that there's a drop off when Sims is in the court as opposed to Mitch. And that's not to compare the 58th pick to well, even though Mitchell Robinson was the second round pick, but just to show that Mitch's game is a lot more advanced as opposed to Sims, and it's not all about being an athletic freak.
Yeah. I think in terms of the re-signing Mitch thing, my feeling is based upon the way Thibs has been talking about Mitch, 100% the Knicks are going to re-sign him. 100%. It may impact what happens with Nerlens.
Yeah, it's gonna.
But, and that's fine. That is what it is. It's, you know, the way of the world. But 100%, Mitch is coming back in some form for some amount of money. There's no when Thibs talks about a player the way he's talking about Mitch, you know, he's a difference maker. He's using words like that. I mean, you can't if you let a guy go like that. That's, you know, but and he fits the Thibs style of play perfectly. Now, I bet Mitch. I mean, I bet Thibs. I bet Mitch does too. Wishes that he had a nice little short jumper. You know, just a 7-footer. That would change so much. I mean, I want him because I've seen him do the shoot his threes. I want him to shoot an occasional 3. But that aside, if he just had a little 7-foot jumper, it would make it easier for him to get to the rim later on in other possessions. Because then, you know, defenders don't just collapse on him. So that's he's special, man. We got a lot of special guys on this team.
Yeah, like we have a lot of X factors. It's just who is going to step up and take the bulk of the minutes because we already know Tibbs. You know, if you're not performing, he's not going to be shy about giving your minutes to someone else. So it's going to be up to this team to show up every single night, and that's why I'm not too concerned about our game-to-game performance. I think we're going to show up every single night. Some players are going to have off nights, and it's going to be on our leader Julius Randle to help carry this team. But I think if the Knicks are going to reach their highest potential, we're going to need Mitchell Robinson to be that defensive player of the year that he's striving to be.
Yeah, and he definitely has a potential to be a defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
at least get in the conversation.
The votes, because Julius Randle got votes last season. Not for the defensive player of the year, but all NBA defense.
All defense, yeah. Oh, as far as all defense, I mean, who else would you put in the five? I mean, Embiid, I guess, for
you talking about second team or
second team. First team is the Gobert.
Rudy, yeah. Well, you never know. If Mitch is playing every game like he did last game, I don't know. I think I pointed it out yesterday when I was on the stream. There was that play. It was about like 7 minutes and a half left, and I think the third quarter, where he was able to contest a Romeo Langford 3. Was it?
Yeah.
I forgot who was out there. It was a Romeo Langford 3, and then he was able to recover and stop, I think, Pritchard from shooting a layup.
And he's not even anywhere near game shape.
Yeah. He's still trying to build up.
Yeah,
man. His versatility is off the charts. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Mitchell Robinson. We can
do a whole show about him.
we
got a great chat going.
Yeah. Man. Once you talk about Mitch, the engagement really gets involved because he's that polarizing. I think Julius Randle, of course, is the engine. I've said Derrick Rose is another player, another major catalyst, and Mitch is right up there.
One thing we do as a fan base, we tend to overvalue certain guys and take for granted other guys.
Others, yeah.
And Mitch is a take for granted guy because he, like you said, he was a second round pick. But the thing is, the truth of Mitch is, if he had played college ball, he would have been a lottery pick, no doubt, probably a top 10 lottery pick. So that's the kind of special talent that is. And then he didn't play organized ball for a whole year. That year he took it off, remember? And he didn't really even play that much high school ball. So the game, when he came in, when I actually saw him at Summer League, he barely had played any organized basketball over the past 3 years before that. So he was a super raw talent. And then, we know the Fizdale thing and the coaching and the development that the Knicks lacked in player development. So I think it was like kind of
lost year.
Lost year. And I think the fan base kind of took him for granted a bit, because he doesn't, have any tremendous moves or anything like that. He's basically a lob threat is what he is, but defensively he's just outstanding. I really
offensive rebound is crazy as well.
Yeah.
What and the crazy part is, in the Celtics game, he had 5 offensive rebounds, and we were able to convert each one into buckets. You know,
I think he had all of them. I don't think we had that many.
Let me see. Top and Obi had 2.
Obi had 2.
So okay. Mitch had 5. Obi had 2, and of those 5, we converted every second chance point. One of which was a Julius Randle 3, if I'm not mistaken.
When Julius hits those threes, everything changes.
Especially those contested threes. It's like, what you gonna do at that point? Yeah. He's built like a tank. You can't let him drive, and now he's knocking down sidestep 3-pointers on you. Like, what you gonna do?
And he's finishing.
Yes,
he's finishing at the bucket.
A complete 3-level scorer at the moment. Hopefully
that's my biggest pet peeve there is. If you do all the work and energy to get to the hoop, make the bucket. That's it. That's all you should be focused. Who cares if you get an elbow to your head? Make the bucket.
Make the free throw.
And then make the free. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're not concussed, fingers crossed. But you made a good point.
Take a concussion. I'm sure I've had about at least a dozen concussions in my life, I think.
I had one back when I played football, but you never know. You might little play fight and you bump your head. You never know if you get concussed either. But you made a good point when you said we overvalue some players and undervalue some. I think the reason a lot of the fan base overvalue certain players because you see signs, they tease you, and then we really don't go to them later on in the season or in their career. Like if you look at Frank showed you some signs. We moved on from him. Knox has shown us some signs, at least giving us a little bit to like a tease to kind of reel us in. And then we don't see much more. I think if we were at these practices and able to see what these guys were doing behind the scenes, then I think we would appreciate what some of these undervalued players are contributing. And, we would not overvalue some of the players that kind of get hidden at the end of the bench. Because you've seen it a few times. You've seen it with Trier. You've seen it with even some people were clamoring for Clay Anthony early back when we had him. Kevin Knox, Frank Mitty. It's a laundry list of players that I think a lot of people in the fan base kind of overvalued. And then I really didn't find a footing in the league once they left.
Yeah. The Knox, to talk about him just a tiny little bit, he's got the rap, he's a terrible defender. He actually is not a terrible defender. Does he get caught, deer in the headlights, 1 or 2 possessions a game? Absolutely. But if you watch him closely, and unfortunately there's not much tape on him for the past couple of years, he actually has improved defensively. He gets a steal once in a while. He'll basically man a guy up all the way to the hoop. He won't necessarily get the block, but he'll interrupt the shot. His floor spacing has improved. He just ends up, the problem is that he has those brain farts once in a while, but it's not like that's always the way he plays. He's not like that. And he's
Yeah.
another guy that suffered from a lack of quality player development because he has tools. He has special tools in terms of shooting and his just physical length and abilities. And man, and he's actually a very good passer. He was a quarterback.
Yeah, like they say, what's that song? It's a new day. I don't want to start singing. The chat will go from 65 to 0 real quick. I want to give a quick shout out to Hardwill. He's saying, "What's the Cash App, bro? I want to donate." It's the cash sign Sports Vibes TV. I want to keep it easy for you guys. If you ever want to donate and help continue to grow and build this channel, we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. So if you're new, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. Also, if you click the hyperlink on the video, it'll direct you to George's Into the Knicks Verse channel. He's dropping heat as well. Make sure you subscribe over there. George, do you have a Cash App if anybody wants to donate to what you're doing over there? I don't have one yet,
but I will set one up. I'll set one up soon, but I don't have one yet. But yeah, check out the Into the Knicks Verse. I mean, actually, I think almost everybody in this chat has watched one of my videos, which is awesome. If you haven't, definitely do it. Try to give you a variety of different viewpoints. Don't have a set schedule yet, but just gonna put out as much content as possible because I love talking about these guys, man.
Exactly, right. You don't want to confine yourself to a schedule. Last season there were days I put about 5 videos in one day. Hey, you feel passionate about the team, you got to let your voice be heard, and you upload. So Hardwill, if you want to donate via Cash App, is greatly appreciated. I don't mention it much because it's really not something I'm striving for here on this channel. I'm just here to talk about Knicks with passionate.
You can buy hats. Like you can buy hats if you want to support
George. Yeah, if you want to head over to Into the Knicks Verse and purchase a hat, you can go and do that as well. I want to get to Scott Morgan. He's asking, or he's saying, "Great job, guys. Can we win the East?" And Scott, I got the perfect guy to ask this question. George, let it rip.
Can we win the East? Now, we got to be a little more specific. Do you mean finish first in the East or come out of the East in the playoffs?
Scott also sent a $15 super chat. So let's discuss. Okay. Well, shout out to Scott. I appreciate the support.
You know what? I don't believe we can win the East this season. And there's 2 main reasons why. One of them is in Brooklyn. And his name is Kevin Durant. And just him alone is enough to keep us from winning the East. And then he also has Harden, and they'll figure all that out. Whether Kyrie ends up playing or not, who knows? It's almost irrelevant in terms of for the Knicks. And then there's the Bucks. Even though they got a 42-point spanking last night from the Heat, I don't know.
See my guy Hero? I got him in fantasy too, man. I was lit last night. As long as he doesn't do that against us.
I hate that. I hate that Tyler Hero does that. But yeah, I mean, he went off. He had a great preseason. He's going to be a problem. But the Bucks, I do think that the Bucks. I actually think the Bucks are gonna return to the NBA Finals this season. I haven't come out. I was gonna put out a whole ranking of every of the 2 conferences, and I'll put it out at some point, maybe this weekend, next week. But I think Bucks are gonna be the team that's gonna they're gonna defend their title. So in that respect, however, will the Bucks be forced to defend their title in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks? That I'm telling you, that is a very distinct possibility.
George. All right.
Now, Scott, the key is us getting home court. Us getting home court. We finished top 4, 3rd seed. I actually put out a video. I reposted it because I put it out right before the game the other night, and I was like, "Oh, it's okay."
Which is never a good idea.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't
at the hard way, George.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" And then it got lost, so I reposted it because I think it's a really, really good video. And actually, ironically, everything that I outlined, the 5 things that the Knicks needed to do, were the 5 things that they did in the game to come back and win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where Thibodeau wants to take these guys anyway. So they do those 5 things. This team, and also who knows what's going to happen mid-season. We might maybe this season, as opposed to last season, Leon does pull the trigger and bring in a Fournier type guy, like the way I wanted last season. You wanted Powell, which I would have totally been down with that too. An additional piece like that. Let's say, for example, Burks just isn't doing it. Right. And, of course, Grimes we got, what I love, but we're going to need to, let's say, so we replace Burks with somebody else, upgrade that. So something like that. And yes, I believe that this team could go pretty deep. Deep.
I don't think we'll be first in the conference, and I don't think we'll reach the finals this season. What I'm looking for us to take the next step. Now, we got into the first round. Can we get into the second round? That's my main goal this season. I want to see improvement. Can we improve upon what we did last season? We've already seen that we have the culture where we're not going to go out there and give up games, which we could have easily done against the Celtics. We could have been demoralized and allowed them to steal that game on our court. But as you can see, this team is willing to fight. They have that fighting spirit based off their coach and based off our leader in Julius Randle. So if we're able to get to the second round, I think that's not the ultimate goal, but to me, that would be the major goal for this season. That would be a successful season to me. Not to say if we get to the first round and lose, it would be unsuccessful. I would just say if we made the moves we made, going out there, bringing in a Fournier, bringing in a Kemba, I think we now have enough to get to the second round. So I think that's the goal for me. That's what I'm aiming for this team, and that's what I think we should be able to do. It's going to depend upon matchups, because a lot of the playoffs is dependent on who you matched up against. But I think if we, like you said, have home court advantage, we can definitely get past the first round. Also, shout out to Scott Morgan. I didn't get to the actual super chat. We just got to the original question he asked. He said, didn't I see Grimes make an appearance in last game? Yes, he made an appearance. He played less than 1 minute, and it was just on a defensive possession. Was it to end the half or to end the third quarter? Because I was recording the moment. I thought he was going to get some actual minutes throughout the whole game, and then we never saw him again.
Yeah, I know. I was excited to see him in there, and it's kind of interesting with all the kind of the hype that Deuce got earlier. That the first guy to come in was Grimes. Yeah, because of that last game against the Wizards in the preseason.
The small ball lineup.
He's perfect. And JD and I have had this back and forth thing about Grimes. I actually think that Grimes may end up at some point. I mean, the season is long, and depending on injuries and all that stuff, we may see Grimes at the 1 during the all defensive lockdown lineup, and against a bigger teams with bigger guards, and in the small ball scenario. I
against teams like Chicago.
Exactly. I mean, against Chicago, Lonzo and Zach, they may punish. And DeRozan. Yeah, they may punish Kemba and Derek. So that's why Burks is on this team, by the way, because he's actually a pretty decent defender. He has some good size. He's good, but if he's not delivering on the offensive end, that's going to be it might cost him some minutes. Yeah.
Yep. And then that's where you would see somebody maybe like Grimes come in. Because who did they have Grimes guarded? It wasn't Kispert. Who did they have him guarded in the Wizards? What's the tall dude with the jump shot? I can't remember his name at the moment. Bertans, there we go. They had him guarding Bertans for some period out there against the Wizards. So we'll see.
Yeah. Someone's asking me how to do, and I forgot. I'm watching. I have our stream up, but it's from the this versus that one. So I'm writing about. Oh yeah, you can get it from this.
You gave up your burner.
That was funny, and I was like, then I look over. I was like, oh, what the hell? That was funny. But yeah, no, you can if you want to buy a hat, which. Definitely. I have some left before takes a while to get the new batch. Just Knicksverse@gmail.com. sportsvibes.com. And then work it out that way. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, Joe, let them know where to follow you on the socials as well, because we're about to wrap it up so everybody can get into the game. About 5 minutes from tip.
On Twitter, it's at Knicksverse on Twitter. And on Instagram, it's Into the Knicksverse. Just Into the Knicksverse on Instagram. So those are the ways to do it. And let's see here. Am I stuttering now? No,
you're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, and check out the vids, man. Check out the vids; they're awesome. And Quis and I will be collaborating. From time to time. We should definitely do a syndicate collab
stream
for sure.
That'll be pretty fun. Fun. But George, you see how I wrapped you into the Sports Vibes TV web? We set up for a 30-minute stream, and now look, boom, 50 minutes. Boom. It's the magic of the channel, man.
Boom. Yeah, I love it. Wow, we're talking about our favorite thing.
Facts. That's a fact. Big Task pulled up. He said, in the building. Salute to everyone in the chat. Let's get this win. Nick Pride. Shout out to George and the Knicks verse. Salute to Big Task. Let's go vibes. Also, Knicks Nation 112. I apologize for saying salute Quis, George, and the Knicks content. Knicks, let's get it.
Let's get it.
God is saying thank you. Dinwiddie. Oh, he did guard Dinwiddie at times, but I think Foxy had texted me. He said, hey, they've got him guarding Bertans. He's too big for him. I said, well, let's see how it goes. If he's able to guard, bigger wings, then that's good for us. He makes the more versatile defender out there.
Hey, shout out to Big Task, to Bowen, Scott. God, everybody is sincere. Sincere to Genius. He actually said that Mitch needs a hook shot, a little jump hook, a little baby hook.
Yeah, that'd be nice if he added that. He needs to get into the lab with Taj. You see what Taj is doing out there? Taj. Congrats to him, by the way. Just had a baby.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah,
I want to see baby Taj.
Right? Yeah, we're just building and growing the extended Knicks family out here. So salute to them.
Yeah, and Lex, the Destroyer, Corey Becker, Warren, Hardwell, Josh, Uncle Fulio.
Yeah, Fulio's in the building. Salute. You can check him out over there on MBK.
Derek
the GOAT.
Yes. All right, man. The game's going to start soon, right? Is it a 4 o'clock start?
So you're over there in the West Coast. Don't confuse.
Oh yeah,
everybody.
that's right. I forget. I'm West Coast.
It's 7 o'clock. All right. So, George,
I don't know why.
George loves that highlight.
I know. I don't. It's just stuck for some reason. When I open the NBA app, it wants to show those highlights. Sorry about that.
The Public Enemy got one, trying to squeeze one more in. Let's see what he says. Knicks fans make the same mistake as last season when the Magic were depleted, playing 8 players and the Knicks lost by 20. Sleep on Cole Anthony like you did Kobe White. Hey, you said that, George. Don't sleep on Cole.
Cole's a concern. Plus, Knicks are his daddy's former team.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be drafted by the Knicks.
Yep. Yeah.
He went on record. He wanted to be a Knick. So I could see that. He's a concern for sure.
Yeah. So George, whenever you're in New York, Sincere is saying we got to link up at a game.
Absolutely. I'll figure it out in the next couple of weeks or so when I'm going to come out for a game. We'll go.
All right. Definitely. All right. Yeah. So SV Nation, thank you guys for tuning in and supporting the stream. As always, you guys help drive the show. George, thank you for pulling up. Thank you for having me.
It's a great privilege to be on.
You're welcome, George. You open invite whenever you feel like you want to come up and have a discussion.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you.
You guys can tune into his channel. Link is in the link is in the actual title of the show. And I'm also going to throw it in the description at the end of the video. So thank you guys for watching. Once again, I'm Quis, host of Sports Vibes TV, and we're out.